Rink rat. Let's see if we can get a Nimzo Indian. Maybe. Plays a d4 c4 opening. But it's anti-Nimzo system, so we'll go for a Blumenfeld countergambit. Yeah, that's the way you play it if you want to take a pawn and keep it. And black gets a big center. And open F file too. Very handy. Okay, I'm not unpinning that knight right away. I'm just going to castle. Then I'm free to move my queen because the rook is defending the knight and don't have to worry about any problems here. It's a check. He blocks with the knight. I push this pawn, he can just take it. So can't really easily gather this pawn back. How do I proceed here? d4. Let's see. Can I play e5? Queen takes. Well, he takes the knight first, I guess, and then takes here. Then I can't move this with check. Can't do that until he castles. Okay, we'll go here. Won't try to get in e4 right away. I mean d4. I was thinking about d4, but yeah, I don't think that's in the cards. Okay, well now have a maybe a tempo move I could play with d4 here. He pushed this pawn forward to block my this battery on the h2 pawn, but anyway, yeah, he's all very secure here. Very secure. Let's go ahead and kick the bishop. He's got no place to run to at the moment, so he will, I think, have to take the knight. He agrees. Now I'm going to get the knight up here and bring the other rook over. Let's see, bishop takes, rook takes, knight takes, rook takes. It's like two pieces for a rook. If I double the rooks here, and he still has these defenders, I give up a bishop and one rook. And he will have, and I will get all of these. So I'll start by taking the knight. And I'll take the knight that comes back, and then I'll take the bishop. I could have gone here with the queen and gotten a fork in. So he's looking at this pawn, and he's not concerned. Not concerned about his knight, I guess. There. So I have a rook and 2 pieces, and he has 2 rooks and no minor pieces. So I got 2 pieces for the rook. He got an extra pawn there. So he takes, I take with the knight, hitting his queen. Ah, he wants to go for this endgame, huh? Let's just take here then, because then this pawn is unpinned. I can take here. And yeah, I like this okay for me. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I did get a couple extra pawns, huh? Let's go with the knight. I don't know. I might be going the wrong direction with the knight. A knight here and a queen here on this diagonal would be pretty good. So I'll start by putting the knight here and the bishop here, maybe. Okay, I have to defend this pawn. Maybe that wasn't that maneuver to the side. Well, it put me on a good diagonal here, but I couldn't stay there, so that was probably a wasted move when I moved there. Still, knight here threatens bishop here with a fork. Rinkrot, what you got? Queen's not really doing much over here anymore. I unpinned the knight. It's putting pressure on the pawn, but my queen is free to roam a bit. And it is defending this pawn. This pawn could come under fire. Yeah, so he was looking to undermine my knight, I guess. Pawn comes forward, I'm just taking it. And knight here now. Threatens the queen and the pawn. So he goes there. So what will he do when I put the knight here? Will he take? He could take here. That would be a problem. Okay, his other idea is to put his queen here with check and force a queen trade, which I don't know if that's really so bad anyway. Just allow that if he wants it. Try and extract something. I'm trying to get my knight to this square here. Queen here, queen takes, rook takes, king here. Now knight here will be a double attack. He can start going after my pawns too. He goes after this one, yeah. So let's go after his. I see. He can fork, yeah, I can skewer, but I can defend the knight. So Where to? Let's bring the king up. Maybe the knight can go to this square. Okay, he's hitting the bishop there. Let's defend it. He probably wants me to move my bishop here so that he can push this pawn. That pin is ineffective until he pushes this pawn. I'm going to attack his king, or his rook here. Now it's interesting, I can take here with check and then move my knight here or back. So what is it now? I've recaptured, I've captured 2 pawns, so now I've just got this advantage, this bishop advantage. Step here. Okay, so my bishop can defend both of these pawns, huh? Let's see if I can capture one of these. This was my idea. Use the knight to defend this pawn and then step over with the king. So he is attacking my knight. I know what I'll do. I'll move here. Then I'll move the knight and take this pawn. Yes, where can I put the... I can put it there, that works. I can leave that there. Now I've got a passed pawn here. And I'll just push it. And I can retreat the bishop to this square at any time. Well, a nice endgame win with the 2 pieces versus a rook. It's a tricky endgame to play, but if you move cautiously, sometimes you can pull it off. Anyway, let's get another game. Can play a rapid game this time. Here we go, Francisco Artezi has white. Okay, d4, knight f6. Let's see what we get. Should I play something different if he plays c4? Maybe play g3, g6 rather. Okay, but he's not doing the same thing. He's doing something different. Something very different. Okay, let's just get my bishop out. The dark squared bishop, rather. I mean the dark squared bishop. I'll put it here then, so let's see. I wasn't sure whether to put it on e7 or d6, but he clearly indicated it should go on e7, so I will put it there. kick this bishop. Yeah, you know, I was thinking about playing f6, and this move h6 doesn't fit in with that plan. If you play both h6 and f6, then you leave a gap on g6 that the knight can hop into, or a light squared bishop. It's a structure with a lot of holes in it, a holy structure. I guess he's wondering if he should take. Anyway, what that means to me is that to get rid of this knight, I have to trade it off with the knight or a dark squared bishop. He's taking a lot of time for this one decision. Yeah. So maybe he's a London system player who was trying to get into it by a different move order. I'm going to go ahead and castle since I am all set up for that. Let's go ahead and trade off his knight now. I was wondering if he was going to move the knight here, so that when I may move this knight here, he would have this. But he's going with the full London system here with the pawn triangle. And the bishop on f4, just kind of wasted a move getting there. But I kind of wasted a move with h6. So you can argue that there's been no harm, no loss. No loss of momentum there. So what? Should I jump out to e4? If he takes and I take, he can even trade queens. And what will that be? I will have the bishop here. In a pretty closed looking position, but I think maybe the light squared bishop could develop to b7. Okay, if he doesn't take it and tries to play f3, well, the knight can still go to c5, or it can go to g5. So yeah, let's put it there and see what he does. No law that says he has to take. If yeah, there is a downside here. If I play c5 and he kicks this with f3, oh, he just plays f3 right away. Okay. If I come back here, and yeah, what I was going to say is if I play c5 and he kicks it, and I come back here and he plays here, then my knight is actually trapped, right? Because if we look at all these squares, say a knight is here, going here, 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 here. Could go back here, and then might never get out again. So I think I'll put it here. Is there a check or something that causes a problem here? The knight can always come back here. And he can put his queen here when the knight moves, though. So I'm going to leave the knight there. And I was thinking of putting my bishop here, because if his bishop moves, then I can take this pawn. It's not defended. Wrong bishop. This bishop here. And if he defends the pawn, I can take the bishop. If he takes my bishop, I can take with the queen. I'm hitting this pawn. My knight can come back here and attack that pawn. And I can always block the diagonal with g6 if the pressure on the h pawn is relieved. So something like knight to d7, pawn to c5, and b6 or b5, and then bishop here. Seems like a reasonable setup. I always have the idea of pushing this pawn forward a second time. Or after c5, I have the option of playing this to d4 and opening up a diagonal here. Yeah, this is a pretty solid setup, I guess. But, well, he's got to decide what he wants to do about the dark squares here. Yeah, one idea is, oh, he's not doing it. One idea would have been to say queen here to force me to move my knight. And then after the knight is moved, he can drop the queen back here and has this battery. But I still think I could play g6 in that case. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this dark squared bishop. And I'm going to develop the light squared bishop. Here, let's play this move. Encourage him to castle. Because if he doesn't castle, I can put the bishop here and prevent castling. I can put the bishop there anyway. Threatening knight into knight into d3 might be a good move. Bishop a6, knight d3. Because if he castles and I play bishop a6, he's going to have to move the rook. All right, the bishop is going to hit this square, either stopping him from castling, or if he castles first, it'll hit the rook and gain a tempo, and then I can drop the knight into d3. Well, the knight on d3 is not hitting anything, though, except this one pawn. So maybe it doesn't do anything, and the knight gets trapped. I'll think about that before I move it there. Good to have an escape plan. d3 to b2, back to c4. Well, the knight can take it, but it's defended by the bishop. Anyway, that would be if he played this pawn all the way up to b4 to try and trap my knight. The knight could go. He does that first. Yeah, it's interesting. So I have no time to put the bishop here, right? And now he's got time to castle. If that's what he wants to do. This knight here is a little bit short of squares to run to. Maybe he wants to push the c-pawn. Could be. And if he pushes the c-pawn, oh, he doesn't. Okay, but now the idea is if I put my bishop here, he can play b5. Okay, so we will go with c5 then instead of bishop a6. go with the bishop to b7. Looking along this diagonal, I'll see if I can find a way to make use of that diagonal. He is resisting castling, which is kind of interesting. Castling would have been a natural move a couple of times, but maybe he just didn't want to give me the opportunity to set my pieces up, and he felt that was more important than castling. And I have not been able to refute his play, so one thing I could do is push this pawn here and put the knight here. There he castles. Because this bishop is not doing much here. But if I do that, the bishop is going to be locked in pretty much forever. Okay, let's start with f4 here and see if he wants to take en passant. It'll give me some idea of how to proceed. If he lets that stand, it shuts down his light squared bishop. Yeah, this knight is short of moves too, right? I'm looking at my own pawns here. This pawn which is well protected, and this square which is covered. So when he takes en passant, if he does decide to do that, it helps my knight. But he doesn't have to do that. So what do I do then? I'm thinking maybe queen here, rook here, and then the knight can come out this way. Put pressure on this weak pawn here. And defended by this pawn. But maybe he can play g5. A bit risky, because then I can push here and open up this diagonal. Now the screen is filled with yeah. So he decided not to take. Interesting choice. You can't put a piece here, so I always will have the option of pushing this pawn forward, maybe at the cost of sacrificing a pawn to open up this bishop. Ah, so he does that right away. Yeah, that's interesting. I agree. If I take, then this diagonal opens up. So I won't take. I will defend with a pawn. Keep that closed over there, and maybe open up the G file if he takes and put a rook here. He's going to do the same thing, of course. Francisco Artesi moving pretty slowly here. I mean, we're on move 19 and he's used up all of his time. Not all of his time. He's used up a lot of his time. Okay, so immediately unpin. Now if he opens up the G file, boom. And this pawn has been weakened. Now it's not defended by a pawn. Okay, I go here, he takes. I take back with my queen. I go here and he takes the other pawn. Well, then I can take here, hitting his queen. right? After I push this pawn, he can take either of two pawns. So if he takes this way, I'll take with the queen. Takes this way, I can take here, hitting his queen and the rook. The queen will take the pawn. This pawn is under pressure from the knight, but the queen actually defends it. Let's go ahead and push. Give him something to think about. I could take with the rook, and then double rooks if he takes that pawn. Takes there first. Yeah, so I was planning to take here and hit his queen. He can push here, is what I realized. But I could take here with check, with the pawn. So I can throw this in. He's got to move the queen. Oh, when he pushes here, it's check. Yeah, oh, I blundered. I blundered badly there. Yep. Forgot about the check. Okay, if he takes this rook, and I take back, and then he queens. Yeah, so I have to go here to stop that rook immediately. And what am I? I'm down a whole rook right now. Well, I'll let him play it out. Looks like he's got a mate here. Or does he? He's got the bishop. He's just going to take things, which is winning. But let's see him find his most accurate win here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Curious. Is he worried that he won't have enough time to win? I mean, there's an increment. That's why I play these games with an increment, so I don't run out of time. And, you know, when he's a rook up, he should be willing to trade. There he goes. Yeah, it's interesting that he can't easily defend this pawn. He's going for the passer. Okay, if I take here, what will I take back with? The rook or the pawn? Probably the rook, right? Let's see. He could take back with the pawn too. He's got the rook behind it. Yeah, takes with the rook. So I'm going to step over here so that if he ever comes forward with the pawn, I can take his rook. So I've got some passed pawns too. I will try and use them. Okay, he's worried about me pushing this pawn. Oh, plus there's a check here. Okay. I should move the bishop somewhere. Where should I move it to? Yeah, he got that in before I had a chance to do something here on this diagonal. I can push this one step further. Go here to attack the bishop. He's taking a pawn and defending this one too. That's nice. He's got to move the knight now. Okay. Let's push here. Fork. If I can get two pawns going. Like so. It's going to be close. Actually getting some counterplay here. Surprisingly, I queen first, but he queens. And now he's just got a lead of a few pawns, but they're unfortunately quite advanced. So this one, I can't stop it from queening, right? Bishop here is covered by his king. Close, but no cigar. Okay, well, that's it for that game. Hope you guys enjoyed these games, and I will see you next time. Bye now.